the 12th Insight is a book, while it's written as a parable, is a book about the truth of this next opening of into a greater spirituality in human evolution. That, of course, is coming to a greater fruition right now in the present. Interestingly and even amazingly, dovetails precisely with the Mayan calendar predictions and other prophecies, detailing something immense happening in our time. The most accurate of these, I believe, is the Mayan calendar. It's been very accurate. The best scholarship on the Mayan calendar shows it's been immensely accurate in predicting the changes in human social organization and consciousness for thousands of years, from the time civilization first began to our evolution through the process of empires replacing one another and defeating one another and introducing new technology at the same time, to the advent of nation states, which is only 500 or 600 years old now, to the emergence of a global consciousness and even a galactic consciousness, where we rise above not just the planet, but into a kind of a galactic, multi-planet perspective. So in this 12th Insight, we are taking all the spiritual knowledge of the last 100 years and bringing it fully into consciousness in a way that is lived every day, so that everything mentioned in the Celestine prophecy can now result in a technique of life, a series of integrations in life in which we live this level of consciousness in everyday activities every day. And the most amazing part of this is this trend, that this opening seems to be in reaction to the collapse of many social structures in the world. So that as life becomes more uncertain and difficult, we are downloading a greater consciousness that gives us direction as to how to navigate through this world spiritually. Where we are is in a situation where our creativity is being enhanced precisely at the time we need it most. So what we're discovering, first of all, with this return to this reaction to corruption, government, big business, the collapse of the financial system, man-made collapse, intended collapse of the financial system, was that we can return to a greater sense of authenticity as a way to stand above this and to get the world working for us. So the book talks about exactly how we're doing this. One of the ways is as we come to an honoring of truth and telling the truth, the best truth we know, allowing our truth to evolve, it opens us up to an intuitive understanding of how our truth can help individuals that we cross paths with, so that we can become synchronicities for them. And this choice that we are called to make, to either live in the corruption and try to manipulate our way through life, or to live in a radical honesty in which we live we tell our best truth in service to the other person, is creating a new understanding of the way karma works in the world. And I believe that we are discovering it works in a very simple way around the idea of truth. If we're truthful about who we are, what we want, what our wishes are, what all our mistakes of the past, in a transparent way, and offer that truth to another person in service, then we create a karmic response by the universe. And that response is to allow us to draw into our lives people who act toward us in exactly the same way, which means that we draw in people who are telling us the truth in order, trying to be helpful, and giving us synchronistic information, which is what we've always glimpsed is this flow that we want. However, if we choose the side of deception and hidden agendas and not telling the whole truth to the people we interact with, we draw those kinds of people into our lives, not as punishment, but as a way to show us the harm that deception does. Because we're led astray, we're led in circles, our businesses don't work, because we received information from a deceptive source. So what we're learning is this way of authenticity, this way of radical truth-telling, the best truth we know, allowing our truth to evolve, and being helpful, foremost in our minds, to be helpful to the other person, not seeking personal gain in any way, not trying to look good, not having a hidden agenda, but being able to be honest and spontaneous without really being invested in whether they take our advice or our truth, but still telling it in an intuitive way that we know spiritually could be of benefit to them. So we're suddenly discovering exactly how to attract the best life into our world. As this grows, if you honor truth, the truth sets you free spiritually. And if you're honorable over little, you're given much. And what we open up to is the rest of our spiritual power and wisdom. And this yields not just the manifestation of our soul's dream to be of service and making a contribution, but it lifts up us into a greater influence over the human psyche, the world. And that works this way. And I'll just speak about it a minute because it's so important. When we choose this path of authenticity and a greater spiritual unfoldment happens, we embody this great, this consciousness in every day. And because our brain, everybody's brain, is hardwired, as Jung said and believed, to lift up into this consciousness, we suddenly realize that we're having immense influence on the people around us. And we realize that we, as we live our lives and we are who we are authentically, we act to lift everybody around us into that same consciousness. Because we're telepathic. We're all telepathically linked. And what happens is that this way, together, when enough of us do this, we create a new field, a new morphic field in the world that all culture is created by. Culture is not created by behavior, it's created by consciousness. So what we create is a greater culture where it helps people in fear and in conflict lift up into this automatically. It makes it easier for them to do. So this is the discovery, I believe, of this, what I call the 12th insight, this new way of being that's an integration of our spiritual knowledge. And the amazing part, again, is that this dovetails exactly what the Mayan calendar predicted. It has nothing to do with doomsday. It's a new beginning, a new consciousness, the last wave of divine creation in the world that we're tapping into. It's not imposed, of course. We still have to make the decision to tune into this, begin to live it as much as we can in small increments, what I call integrations in the book, until we grow our consciousness into it. I believe out there is growing a clarity that has never been reached before about how to live and develop in a spiritual life. The whole human race is now poised to prove this to themselves, that it works. The book is just my way of taking the reader into a journey exploring these shifts in consciousness that I believe we're all poised to do. And so the book, The 12th Insight, is merely a parable. It's an adventure that someone can take to get a taste of this, and afterward can be able to prove it step by step to themselves.